Is it possible that giants once existed here on Earth? Why is it that we never learned this in school or anywhere else? And how much evidence do we have that these giant beings maybe used to live amongst us? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Mystery Teaching. My name is Gergő. I hope you are doing well. I hope you feel awesome. And if you are new to the channel, then welcome, greetings, namaste. Or if you are a returning viewer, a returning beautiful soul, then hey, thanks for coming back. I appreciate you. And welcome to episode number 42, Uncovering the Truth. Did giants once exist on Earth? So we're gonna dive deep into this topic and we're gonna discuss the question whether or not these beings have been amongst us and used to live amongst us, or this is just some fairy tale. And I'm gonna show you a lot of pictures and videos, a lot of mind-blowing stuff that you're gonna love, so make sure you watch this till the end. But let's go one by one and let's start at the beginning. So when it comes to giants, you can probably think of some old stories or tales or movies like Gulliver's Travels or Jack the Giant Slayer or the Big Friendly Giant movie or some of the biblical stories like David and Goliath or the story of Gilgamesh. And let me just stop here for a second. I mean, look at the picture on the left. That's a lion in his hand. I mean, he's holding a lion like it was a small dog. So that's just one interesting thing already at the beginning. But let's move forward and let's see what the Bible says. This is from the book of Enoch. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 300 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of man. And when man could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Wow. Okay, that's already quite interesting. Now let's see a short clip from Gaia and what they say about giants and the possibility of the existence of these beings.
There are over 100 large human-looking mysterious footprints preserved in stone for thousands of years all over the world. Is this possible physical proof of these legends?
For example, you have the Bible. Just started the Bible. In the beginning, the first book of Moses, 2 times some giants are mentioned. Everyone remembers the fight between David and Goliath. Goliath was a giant. This is a Bible story. The book of Eskimo, which is the mythology of the Eskimo, simply phrases at that time the giants were living on earth. The same thing in Egypt. They are clearly talking in the so-called pyramid text that some of the gods were giants compared to humans. Giants are in mythology actual living, practically in every ancient mythology. So why not in the United States?
If this is true, how did all this evidence simply disappear?
Across the last 200 years, many hundreds of oversized skeletons have been found in Native American mounds and also Native American cemeteries. Many of these skeletons were around 7 to 7.5 feet tall, and they were discovered by archaeologists associated with the Smithsonian Institution. And they were fully recorded, they were taken away, and there are many publications that exist today that you can read all about these discoveries.
On February 22nd, 1918, only 25 miles from Collinsville, average Illinoisan couple Harold and Addie Wadlow gave birth to a child who grew to become the tallest man in the world. Standing at 8 feet and 11 inches, Robert Wadlow was a human anomaly until his death at the young age of 22. Wadlow's immense height and his continued growth until the day he died were due to what doctors say is hyperplasia of the pituitary gland, which resulted in abnormally high levels of human growth hormone in his body. But could this growth hormone be a hidden gene in all human DNA?
It was determined that he suffered from what's called hyperplasia or pituitary gigantism. A gigantism is something that occurs in most species, but it's on a very, very minute, and you're talking about like 0.0007% of each population ends up having a case of gigantism. And Robert Wadlow could represent for us a very real example of the survival of the very genes that were causing the gigantism described by all of these different cultures. You have somebody who is exhibiting what looks like the same gene that some of these giants probably had in the same area where these mounds were constructed. Most of the doctors that saw him said that this could very well have just been a genetic trait.
Can Robert Wadlow's giant stature simply be attributed to his overactive pituitary gland, or might there be a genetic connection? Geneticist William Brown suggests that this isn't just a wild connection. This could be humanly possible.
Okay, that's already quite interesting, but let's look at something else, and let's take a look at some of these old buildings. These were built in the 1800s, and some of them are even older than that. And just look at this one. I mean, look at the details here. It's crazy. And I was always asking the question, like, how is it possible that we built such buildings 100 or 200 or 300 or even more years ago without technology? You know, we didn't even have roads. People used horses to travel. You know, we only had like strings and stones. We didn't have technology, yet somehow we built amazing structures. And I'm just asking how. I'm not saying that these are built by giants, but we actually don't have proper explanations of how is this possible. And you might know that I'm from Hungary, so I obviously wanted to include some pictures from my beautiful country. And this is the Buda Castle, for example, which is hundreds of years old. Or I could mention the Hungarian parliament, which is beautiful and truly magnificent. Just look at the size of the cars here on the picture. And if you've never been there, I definitely recommend to travel to Budapest, because the architecture is truly amazing. Here is another one. This is the Budapest Basilica, or here is another one from Esztergom, another basilica, which is actually half an hour away from my hometown. But you can say that, okay, this is one country, but we have examples from a lot of other places in the world. Here is just a few. This is from New York. Here is another one here in London. This is the St. Pancras train station. I mean, look at this building. How did they build this like 100 or 200 years ago without any advanced technology? Look at this, the Natural History Museum, also in London. Or you can look at the Westminster Abbey. And the question is the same. We didn't have technology. We probably couldn't even build these buildings even today. But if you want to see some older stuff, here we go. Look at the picture. I mean, look at the people. I mean, they are on horses. And yet we were so good, so advanced that we could build these buildings. So that's quite interesting. What I also found during my research is that a lot of people claim that some of these buildings, or many of these buildings, were built by the Tartarians and the Tartarian Empire. And you can indeed find a lot of old and ancient maps about them. And you can look at some of these structures, like this cathedral in Barcelona. Here is another one. I'm not sure where this one is. Or this huge one in Germany. I mean, look at this structure. And some people believe that these were built by the Tartarians. But nothing claims, or no one claims, that Tartarians were actually giants. So we still don't know how these buildings have been built. But here is an interesting clip that might give us some explanation.
The world around you is a lie, and the history of us has been covered up. We are the new population of the world, and a one-world, unified race of people used to exist all across. The Tartarians. They built all these buildings that you see, and they designed them in order to obtain the free energy from the atmosphere. No matter where you look, you'll find the same thing. People attribute that to design styles and architecture, and the story has been greatly falsified, most likely by artificial intelligence that we know nothing about. But it's clear that if you look around long enough, you'll see that there is much more to this story. What happened? If we did build these, how have we gone so far downhill? Why are the doorways so massive? Why are the old stories of giants being dug up from the ground?
Now, a little bit of side note here, because you heard about electricity and free energy in the air, and I don't know how much you heard about that, but I just wanted to quickly mention it. So here is a description of what is the ether. The ether is the ever-present field that connects all things. Yes, everything is connected. Every inch of the ether consists of infinite amount of free energy. This is the elite's greatest secret. If science were to reveal that the ether exists, it would destroy the entire foundation of mainstream atomism and particle science. Denying the ether would be like a fish denying that it is surrounded by water. So I just wanted to mention this is not as crazy as it sounds for the first time. And if you haven't heard about this, I highly recommend to do some research, find some documentaries about it, because maybe these buildings are not just purely churches and domes and cathedrals, but something else. And even Nikola Tesla knew about this, as you can see in this quote here, or here is another one. I'm trying to awake the energy contained in the air. These are the main sources of energy. What is considered as empty space is just a manifestation of matter that is not awakened. He also said that electric power is everywhere present in unlimited quantities and can drive the world's machinery without the need of coal, oil, gas, or any other of the common fuels. And he also said that no free energy device will ever be allowed to reach the market. So this was just a short side note, because Tesla knew about this, and I don't need to mention, his inventions and discoveries and what a genius he was. But let's move on to another topic, and let's see some of the mysteries and secrets of an ancient Indian temple.
Many people around the world believe that the temples of India were built using lost technology, or even possibly by a lost race of people. There are some rather unexplainable things in these temples that modern-day science and archaeology doesn't really account for, such as these lathe-turned pillars. Every one of them is mathematically perfect. How did they do this? And this isn't the only thing in these temples that we can question. I mean, the carvings alone are just unreal, but if you look, every single square inch of this, everything is just carved. There's these cut rock temples where they just dug right into the rock, and they made these temples sometimes straight down into the rock. But how did they build these places with the tools and the technology that we've been told that they had? Because it doesn't look very primitive. In fact, it looks very advanced, almost more so than what we could probably do in the modern day. And it should make everyone question the true history of man. I mean, how do you make a chain out of stone? Out of one single block of stone, how do you carve a chain? These were beyond advanced people. And you can see that in every little detail.
Now you might ask the question, like, why do I show you old ancient stuff, and what's the connection between these buildings and giants? I mean, well, look at these pictures. These doors, that picture on the left, that's the New York train station. I mean, look at the size of the people. Or look at this one on the right, that's a man, and above that, that's a block of stone. And then here is another one. I mean, look at these giant steps, this huge staircase. Who built this and for what purpose? And if you look at it, those are the the human-sized stairs. So here is another one. Again, It's crazy, and you can find a lot of things in the world about these references. Now let's move on some ancient stuff again from Egypt and other places in the world. Look at this picture. It shows like those are giants. Look at this one. That's interesting, isn't it? And then this one. I mean, that guy is carrying 2 elephants. I mean, like how? How is it possible? Whoever drawn this picture, I don't know. It's quite interesting. And here is another one. It shows you that's the size of a giant. That's the size of a human. Here is another one. So there's plenty of evidence that these beings once existed. But again, why don't we know about this and what happened to them? Now, here is another interesting one, how much we can do with our today's technology. This is gonna be very interesting. Watch.
Did y'all see this video? These forklifts are trying to lift up this one piece of stone. I mean, trying to lift this one block up. Stay with me here. I promise you, I'm going somewhere with this. I seen this video online and I thought about something. I mean, look at this. They are having issues just lifting it up off of the ground, let alone moving it to another location to stack it like Legos. Look at this. I mean, I'm not sure if this is 100% real, but that's a bulldozer and that is a dump truck. And imagine trying to build the pyramids with this technology. These statues or monoliths on Easter Island has been known to weigh over 200 metric tons, which is approximately over 400,000 pounds. And they are supposed to be building bricks like this and stacking them like Legos with horses and buggies and old wooden technology and metal technology that they use from things lying around. Okay, yes, I'm being funny, but let's be real here. Look at the size of these bricks, of these pieces of granites. And yet, let's take another look at this video once again. There are 3, maybe even 4 forklifts trying to lift up one single block. There ain't enough slaves on this planet to pick this granite up, move it 100 miles and stack it real neat and do that over and over until you build a pyramid, until you build a monolith or a statue or carvings in the wall. Look at this. I just want everybody to take a look at the issue that we're having today with today's technology. So the question is, how do we really do this? How did they really build the pyramids? I think it's some technology that someone is suppressing, but you be the judge.
Okay, and since the guy mentioned the pyramids, did you know that there are hundreds of pyramids all around the world, not just the famous ones in Giza, but there are pyramids everywhere, including on the Antarctica. Yes, you heard it right. Here is a short clip. I will show you many of them, and it's gonna be a bit mind-blowing. Here we go. about that? Pretty cool, isn't it? Now, let's move on to something else. Obviously, the question is the same. Who built these pyramids and why and for what purpose, and why do we know very little about this? But let's move on to a topic of trees, giant trees. Yes, you heard it right. Now here is a clip about that actually not just giant beings existed, but we had giant trees and a lot of other giant stuff. Here we go.
Why so few, you say? There are not a few of these giant trees. The remnants are everywhere. Our eyes only allow us to see small glimpses of what was. But the more your eyes open, the more you realize that these ancient trees were everywhere. You see, we have been told to dismiss what our eyes have told us for so long. Erasing all truths of the old world is a vast and extensive lie that branches off into all facets of our life. The lies are numerous, and the reason for it is quite simple. Those unaware of their true past, of their true capabilities and origins, are all that much more easier to control. It's not just about giant trees. Though the giant trees for me and many others were a big eye-opener to the true beauty of this world, to what's worth uncovering, and how much of it is hidden in plain sight for us to find. They want us thinking we're just hurtling around on a spinning rock in vast sea of nothingness, and we're just lumps of cells that don't matter, and all that around us is just rock. But trust me, friends, once you start opening your eyes to the true beauty of this realm, it truly inspires you and uplifts your spirits in ways you can never imagine. Question everything, friends.
Alright, here is something else. I watched a couple of videos from this guy and he's covering lots of interesting stuff, and this one that I'm just about to show you is related to our topic of giants, and we continue after. Check it out.
Oh, we got your ass. We got your ass now. So some people will say this is caused by wind erosion and rain. Others will say this is nothing more than a natural rock formation. But brother, that's a petrified cyclops. And it's not just a cyclops. There's a whole cave of petrified furniture, beings, people, all type of mad things, brother. Like, look at that. It's because a chair. Are they shoes? That's a person, brother. A petrified person. Now, I don't know where this is. It says it's somewhere in Russia or Ukraine. But this is a mad thing, bro. If anyone knows what this is, somebody tell me. I mean, who is that? Who is that? That's somebody, bro. That ain't just a normal rock formation. I'm not having it. And I'm not a scientist. And I don't study rocks. But brother, that's a hand.
And finally, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'd like to show you many pictures and photographs from the 1800s or the early 1900s of actual giants. Now, you might say that, oh, this is just Photoshop, these are fake pictures or AI generated. But as I always say, if we look around, if we look at the evidence, what I just showed you in this video so far, then we need to be open to the idea that our history is false or partially false, and we've been indoctrinated, we've been lied to so many times in our lives. So we need to be open to the idea that what if this was real, and what if these people, these beings actually existed? So here are a good couple of pictures, and you make your own decision, all right? So, is it true or not? If you ask my personal opinion, I can easily believe, because there are so many evidence all around. I showed you many of them in this video, and yeah, I do believe that it's possible. And you know, if you think about those stories, those movies like Gulliver and all the others, where do these ideas come from? You know, every fairy tale has some truth in it, and I think this is the case with giants as well, and I can easily imagine that this is our true history, or part of our true history. Why did we not learn about this, and why did they change it? That's another question, but either way, I hope you got some value from this video, so it was worth it to record it. Obviously, feel free to share it, hit the like button, and make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can get notified whenever I upload a new video. I love you all, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you next time. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.